Mary Beth and I are out exploring Northeast Michigan, and today we are taking a look at sinkholes.
Yes, it's a beautiful fall day, and we trekked out Long Rapids Road to 65, veered off on Lear Road, and we're exploring today the Stevens Twin Sinks and Brewski Sink. And sinkholes, if you grew up here, you've heard about them, you know about them. If you're adventurous, you've probably been out to see a few for a while, but sometimes it's not always known how these things are created. And here in Northeast Michigan, we're fortunate to have this type of topography all over the region. There are about 200 known sinkholes across Northeast Michigan. Some of them are dry sinkholes, meaning there's nothing but rocks and plants inside of them, and some are wet, which means that they have turned into a lake. Shoepeck Lake near Atlanta is an example of a wet sink, and it's a place where there's a campground. You can go swim in the sinkhole because it's filled with water.
Are there fish and stuff in it?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
There are. What we're looking at today are dry sinkholes, so there is no water in them. But the interesting thing is how these things are created. So if you'd like, I'd like to show you, and we just go down the trail a little bit and we can take a look.
All right, let's go. So we are standing along the Saddleback Ridge, which is in between both of the twin sinkholes, and Mary Beth is going to give us a little background on that.
Sinkholes are so interesting. They're an interesting study in geology, if you like studying rocks or collecting rocks. What happens when a sinkhole is formed is there are basically two layers of rock. And if you look at a map of Michigan, which way would it be for them? This way. If you look at a map of Michigan, we are sitting on top of a large karst formation. Karst is mainly made up of limestone and shale, very hard types of rock material, left over from the Devonian period, which was about 400 million years ago. And underneath of that layer of limestone and shale are softer, more porous layers of rock, including things like gypsum. Gypsum and limestone and shale are also used in the manufacture of cement. So we're familiar with that in this area with the Lafarge cement plant. So what happens when water filters through the soil, it goes through the limestone and the shale. When it gets to that softer layer, it picks up a lot of carbon dioxide, which makes it a little bit acidic. It doesn't do a whole lot to the limestone and shale, but that more softer, porous layer starts to deteriorate and dissolve, and it gets mixed in with the groundwater. And if enough of that happens over time, it slowly erodes and washes away. So what happens is then we have a cavern or a hole beneath that hard limestone layer.
Okay.
If it can't support it, if the area below can't support the weight of that limestone and shale, it just falls. And so that's what we're standing on top of.
We just got a nice little geology lesson.
Yeah, a couple of sinkholes. Now the Stevens Twin Sinks, they're about 200 feet in diameter and about 85 feet deep. The soft layer that washed away is about 800 feet below the surface. So there's a whole lot going on in between those layers. What we can see here are parts of the karst formation, if you look closely through the trees that are sticking out through the sides of the earth below the topsoil, and then trees have grown up around it. Now, who knows exactly when that's going to happen? Sometimes you hear about sinkholes just spontaneously occurring. They've been in the works for years, possibly millions of years, before they actually collapse. This one is also linked to some cracks in the earth that you can find on another trail, and those indicate either another sinkhole is possibly forming or this one may be expanding. So it's a really interesting place to investigate. Now, in addition to the twin sinks, across the road we also have the Brewski Sink. So I would like to take you to go take a look at that because there are some interesting features on that one as well.
All right.
So we're going to head out and take a look.
Okay, sounds good.
So we're here at the Brewski Sink, which is right across the road from Stevens Twin Sinks. And this is a nice one because you can see that rock karst formation coming through the back wall of the sinkhole. Something interesting about sinkholes that is a neat feature to check out is the bottoms are usually containing what is called a microbiome or a microclimate. The bottom of a sinkhole doesn't normally get as much sun or wind or other types of temperature fluctuations like the surface, so you'll find different things growing there that aren't growing in the rest of the region, like different ferns that you might not see anywhere else but 200 miles away, or different kinds of mosses. It would be really cool to check it out, but you have to be careful when you're diving into the bottom of a sinkhole because they are very treacherous and dangerous. They're made out of rock that just caved into the earth, and they can still continue to do that, and there's lots of loose rock on the outside walls.
So you don't want to climb down without being prepared?
You don't want to climb down without being prepared or being physically agile. You might want to get climbing harness if you are familiar with that kind of thing, and definitely wear a hard hat and other safety precautions. And it's great to come out and walk along the trails around the sinkholes, but be careful this time of year because the leaves are falling and sometimes they get wet and can be very slippery. So always make sure you tell someone where you're going and be prepared.
And if you wanted to learn more about sinkholes, I know you said there's some places you can go to learn more.
Yes, a great place to start is Besser Museum in Alpena. They have brochures that they can give you about exploring the sinkholes in the area and have a friendly staff that can help answer questions.
All right, well, thank you, Mary Beth. So if you would like to learn more about sinkholes, be sure to stop in the Besser Museum for more information.